Would you mind passing me a copy of this?
All right, you are live and recording.
So let's bring the meeting to order at 6:05. And Emily Hauser is here, Kevin McAvoy, Jennifer Adams, Leah DeMont, Brendan Wallace, and Lynn Woods. Wow. Everyone's here. And then Julie Noble. Michael Tierney is not here. And then our honored guests are here. So,
Great credit.
Ray
Eugene Foley.
and Emily Perot. So Ray and Eugene have put in applications, and Emily is the bee habitat person, and she decided to attend today, but she's not making a presentation.
But she
Agreed.
next month. Next month. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so do any of our honored guests want to make any public comment?
I have very little information as to what we're doing, so I'm very curious.
Well, we could give you an agenda.
Fantastic.
So sorry.
Can I actually also go?
Yes, I'm sorry. My own issue.
Names of the secretary.
Credit. KRENICKI.
So, and I could send them to you, sorry. Yeah, so
We have an online guest as well, right?
Oh, yes, and recognizing our online guest, Alina, right?
Oh, we have more than one online.
Oh, we have, well, we want.
That's an easy.
Is that
Is
a
you here also a visiting Bard student?
Yeah, it's another bar student.
Okay. Okay, so Elena, do you want to say anything?
I'm a student at Bard College studying economics, and I have a class introduction to community science. And one of the assignments is to join different community meetings and to hear about the water quality, air quality. So, and I'm so excited to be here today.
All right, thank you. And I don't know how to pronounce your name.
Zuhair.
Zuhair, are you there? Do you have anything to say? Or do you want to introduce yourself? Oh,
Change their mind.
this is boring. Okay. All right, so then the next thing is modification to the agenda. Has anything come up that's not on the agenda that we wanted to talk, anyone want to mention? Julie, do you want to, I'm sorry, I didn't check. Is Scenic Hudson's, are they on here? I didn't look at all this.
Oh.
Scenic Hudson River Cities, so we can,
Yeah, it's on the agenda.
yeah, did you want to go, so we can talk about it? Okay. And we just got a communication from them, so.
And maybe this would come up with new business, but I'm sure you get emails from Riverkeeper. And I got an email from John Lipscomb about they're looking at legislation addressing drinking water. So they didn't mention a particular law that is coming up, but I wondered, is that the kind of thing that we should track and maybe comment on when the time comes?
Is it drinking water for the state of New York or?
Hang on a second, protecting clean drinking water, yeah, I think it's a state law. And I think it has to do with, they're working on, Riverkeeper and Earth Justice are working on a legislative proposal to strengthen laws surrounding these protections of the water source of drinking water, which Felicia would definitely relate to that.
Yeah,
And it says that some of, I guess this came out of an issue with the Finger Lakes where the rules are old. And the DEC hadn't addressed the problem. So I think that was, they're reacting to that. I mean, do you get should I forward this to the group when I got these emails?
I didn't think, I didn't think he worked for.
He doesn't, but
Oh, okay.
I think he's still sitting on emails. I'm curious, would I forward this to the other members or just bring it up at the meeting as I am now?
Is this sort of it, protecting clean drinking water?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, I didn't.
Just seems
So-
like something that we might want
So
to.
does, I think people can answer individually if you want to get emails from us about other.
Yeah, I'd be happy if people forwarded something to me, just,
Yeah, just
I mean,
forward it, yeah, just
because I
so
see
we're on the
all sorts
same.
of things, but then.
Yeah,
it's
and I
good
mean,
to
I
get
wouldn't
the
do
same page.
everything, but this is about an upcoming law, so that
Right.
seems like something we might want to weigh in on. I'm not gonna send you everything from River Keeper.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'll forward this to you.
And then sometimes you can then choose to subscribe yourself. Okay. Anything, okay, so then review and approval of January meeting minutes.
Yeah, I got Emily's changes and I had a couple of, mostly editorial. Some, much of that I've already done, and whatever isn't, we'll go through it, the editorials. The only thing I didn't, I jumped out the word now on Logan Park. It says because the parcel is now being listed for sale, they've been listed for sale since 2007.
Oh, I didn't know. I thought it was
Perpetually
like-
listed for sale.
Perpetual, in perpetuity.
Oh, that's really good.
They had offers, discussions, and no others.
And that's the
Oh,
open-
so
So I
why,
just took the word now.
that's fine, but why did it get brought up as if it was a new thing? Are they more concerned that something's gonna happen?
They contacted me because they were to discuss Pettit. And also the Community Preservation Fund. I'm not sure, maybe they
Yeah.
contacted you about the Community Preservation
But
Fund.
that's the
too?
land that Pettit developer is claiming is open space, right? Protected open space.
Well,
falsely.
They have, I have a development plan for that, that goes back 15 years. Yeah.
But I mean, it's not, there are zoning requirements to keep some of the land, they can't just develop every inch, right? But it's not,
Right.
it's protected open space,
No, it's not.
like the
No,
developer was saying.
No.
That whole variance is like,
No, you could develop one part, but
Yeah.
you would have to
Right.
follow the form-based code.
Okay, we can keep talking about this. We're just.
But I just took the word now out, that's all I did. I'm trying to, and you put the word loophole in or leachate, and that was, I had just taken it off of the agenda, and it didn't have the word loophole.
Oh,
That's how that
yeah,
came
no problem.
Yeah, and the rest of it, we can just, we accepted, architect. I didn't include Roger Bennett as a resident, because I wasn't clear about his residency.
I'm
When I
pretty
went to
sure.
look it up, he is, all right, because
Yeah,
I
he
started
lives on-
finding, stuff,
He lives on.
LA.
no,
Cage
he's a
or something.
resident. He,
Okay.
his history is from LA.
Yeah,
He is from
yeah,
LA.
right, and then also there's a whole thing in New York and Long Island too, and Westchester.
No, he told, he lives on Cage or something.
He's definitely a
He's
resident.
a-
Okay, you want me to change that to resident then? Because you had started with it and the current version doesn't have it, I'll have to insert that back in. And he does represent himself, he's been in a couple of meetings where he called himself architect, so that's what I call
That's okay, don't worry
Yeah.
about it. It's just that we usually don't.
him. Yeah, usually not, except he would seem to
Yeah.
be,
That's it, that's
I'm
fine, don't
Mr.
worry.
Bennett, architect. So I was like, okay. There you go.
And there's a teeny typo that Emily missed.
Oh, yeah, well, I may have caught it already, if I didn't.
Go ahead. Reports, updates, number 7. we
Yeah.
need a, L for planning in the third line. Kevin discussed the group strategic planning. It says panning,
Mhm.
number
It's happened
7.
too.
On the final page.
Oh.
Yeah, here, Kevin. It's right there. And ink, number 7.
Ah,
Planning.
okay, yeah,
We
yeah,
could
we
strategically
may
plan.
pick that up already, but if not, we will.
Oh, and Eastern, you can end after Eastern. That same paragraph.
Julie got that, and I think I got that too, but there's stuff that happened that you don't see, when, after Emily sends it to me, I go through it, and I do another spell check, and.
I mean, it's a lot, so, these are really minor.
Yeah, and I just wanted to ask, like, Kevin's doing a great job. Do you need him to, like, do we need all this information? Is it important? Because like, I think like, especially when he talks about presentations that people give, it's a lot of work to capture all of that. But, so.
These are the most thorough meeting notes I've ever seen from any commission. So I just want to commend you.
Yeah, well, the most important thing is to make sure that, if somebody says something that's inflammatory or something, that we kind of
Well,
not want to go there.
yeah, but the main thing is,
Leave it
I
as a
mean,
discussion.
sometimes you're just supposed to say whether we took an action, right?
Well, that's another way to
But
keep
this
minutes.
is-
I
right,
think
but this-
that's what we did.
Yeah, but this is good to go back and.
I mean, if you don't mind.
No, I think we're documenting what happened at the meeting, the actions, motions, et cetera, and all that. But we're also providing an educational purpose. I think we can use these.
No, it's great.
And I know with Climate Smart, you were using them to send them to Climate Smart communities. Yeah,
I greatly value your.
yeah,
Yeah.
so it worked out well.
So motion to accept the minutes.
Yes.
I second.
Okay.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Okay, council member appointments update. Okay, so we voted to have Brendan Walsh be on this committee, and the mayor okayed that. So Brendan, so we're welcoming Brendan tonight.
Thanks.
And thank you. And then Helen Atkinson recently resigned, and again, recognizing her contributions. And Brianna Gray resigned earlier in, I guess, late December, recognizing her again. And then we have had some new people interested, as you already heard, so. thank you
Also,
for
Kevin has
joining.
been reappointed.
Oh, Kevin's been reappointed.
Yeah, I signed the book.
Yeah, and Brenda, did you
I did sign the
go
book.
some? Okay, great.
There's been 4 applications that have been submitted of late. Just so that you folks know the process, there are vacancies. You do have to be a city resident. And it would be a 2-year term, voluntary, starting effective immediately. The way that it works is that this commission or this council would vet you to see if we feel as though you are an appropriate person to serve on the council. And in doing so, if that were the case, then send a recommendation to the mayor for appointment. And then the mayor would choose yea or nay. And so really, we just ask folks to kind of come and check out to see what CAC is. There's 22 boards and commissions in the city, so there's lots of options. And this is one of 2 environmental boards. So this is the policy and land use and regulatory board, environmental board, versus the Climate Smart Kingston Commission, which is programmatic. So dealing with things like organics and refrigerants and recycling and earth fair stuff and renewable energy and fleet management and all different things supporting the work that I do in my sustainability office. So if this is something of interest to you, we welcome you to come to the meetings. If you want to tell us about yourself, since you, well, I'm not running a meeting, but if you want
That's okay.
if you want to tell us about yourself since you've applied, we'd love to hear about it. You don't have to.
Yeah, no, I I've been a Kingston resident for just about 4.5 years now, and I just actually purchased a house over on Lucas.
Yeah.
I've been involved in the community in much smaller ways. I'm one of the community garden members at the George Washington School, so I work closely with Cindy, who runs a lot of the community gardens in the city, and I saw that one of the goals for this board is to get up to 10 additional community gardens. And so far 0 have been added, but there's been a lot of other like focuses of those goals that I really appreciate. And I've just always cared so much about making our community and our environment more environmentally friendly, because there's so much going on outside that is kind of working against that. That's why I'm interested, and that's why I came today.
Thank you.
I guess to start with, I just moved to Kingston about a year ago. I was down in Philadelphia before this, but I've recently just put a down payment on a house on Streetfeld Street. So I'm looking to make this into my forever home. Been bouncing around the East Coast for a while now, so it seemed like a nice place to settle down. I have family up in Albany, so relatively close to the Catskills on the other side. My father lives out there, so I've kind of always been in tune with the Catskills in this area, and I want to preserve that as much as possible in these kind of communities. So I wanted to see what I can give back as much as possible. I don't know what I can offer, but I'm willing to do whatever there is, I guess, to help out and be a part of a community that I feel like I'm going to hopefully be a part of for a while. So I'm willing for whatever.
Thank you. Okay, yeah, and you have to be a willing partner too, so even obviously.
Sitting in a better spot.
I just meant, so why don't you listen today and everything and see how you think about our little group here. Okay, well, thank you for that.
Just a note for folks on the council, if Helen is on your communications outreach, make sure you remove Helen, and if Brendan is not, please make sure that you add him.
Right. Thank you. Did you hear anything back from the Brothers?
Brothers at Bard. Yeah, I did. I reached out to the leadership of Brothers at Bard. As you guys will recall, we've been talking about trying to get more young people from Kingston interested in this committee. And we thought that one way to do it is to go through the Brothers at Bard organization, which has, which organizes like a lot of activities in the Kingston High School. So I did reach out to them, and I still haven't heard anything back.
Okay.
One way or the other. I was like, you can come attend this meeting, or, I can come talk to you guys. And I think partly because they're still getting sort of into the beginning of the semester. The students who run the program aren't really focusing on this yet, so I will keep trying, but bottom line is I don't have anything yet, sorry.
No, thank you. I didn't even know about it, so it's great. Thank you.
Did we figure out if there's a minimum age requirement for serving on board, or have we talked? We decided there probably wasn't one, right?
I always say 16
Right.
I don't know.
Could make
as
sense, but-
opposed to,
There probably is, but I don't know.
I mean, weren't you 16 when you joined this?
no, it didn't exist when she was 16, actually.
2007, when I was 16 in 2007.
No, she definitely, no. Yeah.
I was 16 when I joined the EMC. It's true.
Right?
Oh, maybe that's what I was thinking of. I knew it was.
Is there a concern?
No,
Yeah.
no, I was just,
I can look into it. It's not in our establishing resolution. It would be more like
Might be like a citywide.
I'd ask corporate counsel about it.
But I mean, I would be concerned if all the members were 16. You know, like, it's fine to have younger people, but if everybody was 16,
Oh,
that would be a problem. So I think there would
We'd be lucky to
requirement.
have one 16. We'd be happy to have one 16.
right.
I'll ask.
Yeah.
Nothing stops elementary school kids from sitting on the board.
Yeah.
Kind of an interesting perspective.
Yeah,
It would be interesting, but
good.
I will find out.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
We have that at Climate Smart. We have a youth membership thing, but I don't believe they vote, right? They're,
Not voting, and it's under 21,
yeah,
Hmm.
but we don't know how far under 21.
we
You must be
have.
willing to raise your hand and able to sit up on your own and get there. Coming up
Well, historically, just for your information, there used to be a thing called the CAC squared. And that's when Julie joined the EMC, and CAC squared meant that you were a student member of your CAC. And, but we didn't have, Kingston didn't have a CAC. But say Hurley would have been, you know, so, and then they would go to the EMC meetings or just have their own program, right? Yeah. So I think we always have thought about having a youth member kind of going back to that older program. Okay, next, the Kingston Wilderness parcel acquisition, we're watching that.
Yes, we had the closing.
Oh,
It's
wow.
closed, it's owned, we own it. We are not calling it Kingston Wilderness necessarily. That was the name of the seller, the seller's LLC. We have been calling it Kingston Wilderness internally, but that is not officially going to be the name of it unless we vote that to be the name of it. So I need to go through the process now for declaring it as parkland. So there's going to be parkland declaration and designation by the Common Council that will be going through hopefully within the next month, and some press around it. And also in doing so, an establishment of code and different rules for that property. So right now, we don't have any municipal parkland that is similar to that, in that 70 acres is a lot. People could hunt on it. People could do a lot of things on it. Track, they could ride ATVs or whatever. But we don't have, since our next largest parkland is 25 acres and it's at Hasbrook Park, and the tract of open space there is much significantly smaller. We're working with City of Hudson to develop basically new code for that type of land.
And what, is there access, there's no access or parking right now,
We're
right?
not. So the other thing we're gonna be doing when we're putting out the press is, and we're working with City of Hudson on this also, is how do we promote, we have 70 acres, but we don't really want people going there yet. Because there's a lot of things we haven't really figured out, like there's big cliffs and caves and other things that are scary. So, and no parking and no amenities. So we're kind of going the route of, what did they say about Sojourner Truth State Park when they said, hey, we have all this land, but we don't really want people going here yet, so we're figuring that out. After that, the mayor would like to do the similar process to what was done for Post Office Park, which is
Or like a community
a
name?
community name. So I have quite a few names so far, just asking around the office, but if people want to think about it, there will be a community naming. Moving forward. Until then, we are probably going to refer to it as the Rondout Uplands, because that's how it was referred to in the open space plan.
Really descriptive.
I kind of like it because it's cool that we have uplands.
Where is it?
Yeah, I was just gonna tell you that. So
this-
it's in Wilbur, like if you're on a Beale Street looking up Wilbur.
Okay.
There's a road off to the left,
Okay.
and if you just go up there, it ends at a ramshackle house, and then all the land.
Do you know where Red
There.
Fox Ravine is? Like it's on the other side from that.
Okay.
Basically, all of the land from Wilbur, all the way to the city line.
Okay.
On
It's
top of
70
the
acres, and it's all forest.
It's pretty
Since it
amazing.
isn't really accessible, I don't think there's much danger of lots of people just showing up, just.
Which is a consideration that we're taking, like, even if we do put out the press about it, there's literally no parking lot, there's not even intuitive, like, how do you even get into it? So,
But
absolutely.
when the land trust did the Red Fox Ravine, did people go in there? Because that's the same situation, right? When you first got the land, there's cliffs.
Well,
You didn't want people going in.
that's a completely different situation, because there was a guy from New Paltz in there with the excavators.
Right. But I mean, once you got the land and before it was kind of ready for people.
Well, the Cave Conservancy shows up, that's a partnership with them, so they show up on the adjoining parcel that used to be Dennis Connors, and we're talking about the other side of Wilbur Avenue.
Yeah, it's different. Yeah.
Okay. Well, it seems like same kind of land.
We
Right.
deal with this a lot at my land trust, and as long as we don't put the address, no one really knows where it is. I know that
Yeah.
it's gonna be a little bit tougher here.
There's really not even an address for who made it. There's not
Exactly,
like
I
a-
don't think people will be able to find it.
Off the
That's
map,
probably should
Wander
wander
off the map, Abil, rear Abil.
Yeah, right,
We've
right.
never had.
There was access to part of it off of Rodney Street at some point.
Mhm.
Yeah, there's still, I mean, with the houses.
No, I don't want to discuss it.
And, I mean, when you
There was
describe,
access.
when you describe steep cliffs and caves, Hasbrook has those too,
They do,
so.
but Hasbrook now has fencing
Fencing.
and
some-
things to block off
Yeah.
caves, so.
Yeah.
People have
But
died there.
I will say the fencing has been put up in my tenure, and prior to that, there was no fencing, so.
Right. Okay, well, that's great. It's good to know, and we can, please, whatever we can do to contribute.
Great.
And any action on Boulevard Pettit?
No, it's on the agenda.
No.
They tabled it last month and there were, we weren't the only ones that submitted comments. So,
I mean, I actually took time to really look at that, which is kind of last minute, but one thing that really concerned me was the variance. Because it didn't make any sense why there was no reasoning for why they got a variance. And so my sense is like, all these developers are gonna come in, there's gonna be like, just squeezing one more unit per building and one more story, because their reason for the variance made no sense.
well, it's tabled. I mean,
Right, but I'm just saying that's a concern, like
They
the
haven't gotten
the native
it, yeah.
plantings in the
Yeah, they
zoning.
haven't gotten it. They tabled it.
I just want, like, if there's gonna be a pattern of variances, that's what I'm saying.
Well, there has been, but then that's
And
why we
that's
submitted
worrisome.
comments. That was one of the comments.
Mhm.
Do you want
Um,
the interview removed from the agenda?
Well, we don't know what they're gonna do. I'm gonna be in touch with Sue on other stuff, so I can ask her if it's
Yeah. Are there any,
permanently tabled or they're gonna come back in a month or something.
is there anything else on planning that we should be?
No, there wasn't much, unless you're interested in, Kaya's, lot line adjustment.
So,
Other than
probably
that,
not.
then there's nothing there, really.
Right. Okay, so then wood smoke, air quality, if anyone, I thought Eli Duker gave a really amazing talk about our air quality last month, and is there anything, I guess, is there any action or discussion on that?
Just one thing about, talking about the wood smoke, if you had a neighbor that had fires all the time, but my understanding, Julie, is, because I asked you about this way before joining this committee, that the zoning in Kingston, you're only permitted to have an outdoor fire if you have food.
Or ceremonial?
Okay,
Yeah.
so that kind of,
Outside, yeah,
right,
Yeah.
so that would kind of be the
that's,
restriction.
right. So far, yes, that's the restriction, so. I will say that I went to the regular public safety committee and I actually showed them part of Eli's slides, since Eli had sent them to us. So they're aware of his recommendations that are listed in the minutes of last month also. So I thought they were really interested in it, yeah. They
Who was
actually-
that being sent to, Phil?
The Public Safety Commission, I report to them, and so the members of common council that are on that, actually, they wanted to know how, I didn't follow up on this, how easy it is to get a monitor for inside your home.
Yeah.
And I did, do you know anything, or, because I can
I
follow
just know
up.
that, but I think that I'm probably an exception to the rule.
Yeah, so, okay,
I
Yeah.
don't know. Can I just
Okay.
ask?
or I could ask Eli or something, yeah, I didn't follow up on that. Okay,
I do have something on Ireland if you want to talk about it.
sure.
So I had a communication with the police chief, who brought to my attention that last week or 2 weeks ago. His office got several calls from folks uptown reporting two vans that were from a cleaning company that I will not state, that were idle for a really long time. And they went to look to go and check on it. And both of the people in the van did this to the police officers and said, here's your law, I'm not doing anything wrong. Because our law states the ambient temperature, there's an exception for
Commercial.
No, when it's cold.
if it's continuously below 25 degrees for a period exceeding 2 hours. And it was.
Oh, they paid, wow, I'm actually impressed.
And then the officer said, have a nice day.
But I mean, continued idling. But maybe they need to change the law because that would be really annoying.
We created the law. Our office, we created this law, but that line is consistent with the New York State law.
2 hours.
Because he said to me, do you know that your law says it's exempt if it's below 25 degrees for 2 hours? And I was like, no, it doesn't. And then I looked at it, it does. And he said, where did that come from? And then I looked at the state law and that's where it came from. And I said to myself, below 25 degrees for 2 hours, that's the entire winter
Yeah.
in the Northeast. We're basically saying,
Exactly.
in the winter, you can idle. But it's consistent with the New York State anti-idling law.
So we don't
I just
have to
wanted
be
But we
You
could
don't
change
have
the
to
law.
be.
We could change the
Which is
law.
why I'm just
Yeah.
stating it.
Yeah.
And I'm saying it because there are now literally people saying, I know your law, I'm allowed to do this, read the words here.
But we also have citizens on the streets
I
who are
know.
enforcing,
They're not enforcing.
which
Yeah.
is
It's
pretty cool.
calling
Yeah.
up,
Yeah.
yeah.
Of course it's uptown. But-
So,
Yeah, no, I think that's really great. But I will bring it up at public safety too, because,
Because I mean, that just seems excessive. Why would you want 2 hours?
no,
it's
Oh,
not
it's the
2 hours of
temperature.
idling.
not 2 hours idling, the condition.
You
You're
could idle
exempt.
indefinitely.
There's a lot of exceptions.
There's no limit on how long you can idle.
You could, if the temperature is continuously below 25 degrees.
You can idle it all
day.
day long.
For 2 hours.
Also, if there's a snow emergency, you could idle all day long. If there's a heat advisory, you could idle all day long. If you're a policeman, a firefighter,
Yeah,
ambulance driver, a public utility vehicle performing emergency services, you could idle all day long. If you're using your vehicle to power for necessarily auxiliary functioning, such as loading, discharging, mixing, processing cargo, controlling cargo, running equipment, construction, lumbering, licensing, or operating an engine required for maintenance, you can idle all day long.
I have a question. So if there's already, if, I wasn't on this committee when this law was brought through. So what was the reasoning? Why was it necessary, if New York State already has an anti-idling law that has this language in it, why was it necessary to have another one in the city as well?
Because the New York State law applies to heavy-duty vehicles.
Oh, this
applies
is
to every
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
got it.
And the New York State law also goes into effect after 5 minutes for heavy duty. This is after 10 minutes for all vehicles. Except all the things that I just listed.
So the New York State law is stricter.
No,
No,
Oh, wait,
it's
only for diesel.
Right.
it's basically, it's for diesel, although you call it heavy duty.
It's called heavy duty in law.
Right. It
It
is.
could be heavy duty electric.
Do you know how many people were complaining?
We didn't say in here, by the way, you're exempt if you have an electric vehicle.
But there's no emissions from electric vehicles, so it doesn't matter.
But that should be exempt.
Right.
Right, but did any of you know how many people called him?
I was told several.
Yeah, because, that indicates to me that it is an issue.
Can I suggest that maybe what might be useful for us to do is circulate the language of the current law for us to think about and put this on the agenda for next month, and we can bring our ideas then about whether this needs to be changed and how so.
Right.
Good idea.
Sure.
And
It's section 390-52.1.
That's the law?
390-52.1 of our code.
And I will say that, the Common Council did change some things from the original, document that got sent in. I think they changed the 10 minutes. I
It was,
think they improved it.
we were talking about that.
I thought they changed it from 5 to 10.
Oh, from what we originally suggested, that was like
Yeah,
100 years ago.
And
2021, which feels like 100 years ago.
yeah, but they also, just like 2 months ago, they increased the fine. Right, so the fine is higher.
Can I just suggest for the next meeting, when we talk about this again, that someone, maybe me, unless someone knows better, research. Is it possible that in the cold weather, that's actually when the air quality from emissions will be felt the most? I know, at least anecdotally, when I'm walking around and cars are idling in the cold, it feels like all of that emission, all the smoke is hanging low right where I'm breathing it.
That would be due to an inversion.
Okay, so that would be
An inversion is like, that's when the air gets trapped.
right,
And I don't know that is
Has to do with the
necessarily
cold.
correlated with temperature.
okay.
But it's,
I'll look
yeah,
into
it's
that
worth
maybe,
looking into,
because,
yeah.
I mean, then it would feel like the exemption is just when it would hit people the hardest.
I mean, also, again, I'm just critiquing my own suggestions, because I primarily put this together, but like a snow emergency is declared. What does that have to do with idling? Like, there could be a snow emergency. Like, why should people get to idle during a snow emergency? There's
Yeah,
like no correlation to that,
no, right,
but.
so yeah.
The
so
only thing
I
I
like
can
your
think of with that is like a lot of us, like
suggestion.
myself, who live in a historic district where there are no garages. Like sometime you have to like heat your car up so that you.
To get the ice off.
To get the ice off of it.
Yeah,
And there's a lot of us who, don't have.
or 10 minutes would probably do it anyway.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, that's true.
Not
I'm not leaving my car.
either way, the point of me telling you all this isn't necessarily because I'm suggesting or advocating modifying the law, I'm just telling you that there are people that care about it.
All right, thank you.
I don't mean to interrupt, really not my place, but I mean, sometimes people do have unfortunate circumstances where they are evicted from their houses and they don't really have anywhere else to go,
Mhm.
especially during the winter months, and all they have left is their car. I know from personal experience that that's kind of your only warm spot, and sometimes you kind of have to sit there for an indefinite amount of time. And it's not really a choice that you want to have, and the environment is not the first thing you're thinking about, it's trying to keep yourself and your loved ones and your possessions warm.
Yes.
So, not disagree
Thank-
by any
yeah.
means, but
Yeah,
there is, I
thanks for
think,
making that point, though, yeah. Yeah. Anyway, thank you so much. Okay, so the letter to planning, I don't have anything more to report on that. I have failed to make an appointment with the planning department to talk more about anything we can do. Although we did agree kind of among ourselves to produce some more literature on native plants, which I guess would be down in another part of this agenda.
We're talking about the pollinator.
Yeah, I might put that in the wrong section.
So,
Me too.
well, yeah. And also, by the way, though, we never heard anything from the form-based code group that's, I forgot what they're called. The working group, yeah, so we never heard them. I think they've only met once, though, maybe they haven't met. And is there anything on the renewable energy implementation plan?
Yep, so my family went away skiing this weekend, and while everyone was skiing, I was reviewing the Ulster County Renewable Energy Implementation Plan. And I've submitted my notes to my colleagues who are primarily authoring it. I expect to have a draft review. I hoped to have a draft by tonight, I do not have it. I hope to have a draft by the Climate Smart meeting, which is the fourth Wednesday, so by that time, hopefully you all will have a draft as well, so. Hopefully by the next time we're sitting here, you will have a draft in hand.
And is it still going to the county group?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, Kingston Organics.
So we are up to, I don't know if I have last week's, but let's just say with the information I have, we've diverted 52.27 tons. We have 548 families enrolled, which is 1,104 people. A combination of Brendan and I and representative from the Department of Public Works are deep in the phase 2 planning, including communicating with other municipalities about how they rolled out residential and commercial collection and considering things like contamination from commercial. So we hope to have a scope of work more honed in by later this month. And in the meantime, we will be moving ahead with purchasing 2 electric Packers, which will be a big deal for us.
What are Packers?
Garbage trucks.
Oh, okay.
2 electric garbage trucks, one will be used exclusively for organics. We have funding to help us to do that, and there's a lot of logistics we need to figure out to make sure that will work. But in the meantime, we will also be shifting the rest of our fleet to renewable diesel, which is a type of fuel that is different than biodiesel, but still made from plants, but is chemically almost entirely the same as diesel, which means you don't have to modify any of your vehicles. And so all that is in the works in the process of transitioning to our next phase 2.
When you say our fleet, you mean the city's fleet?
The city's fleet.
Oh,
So everything that's diesel would start going on renewable diesel? Oh,
Where'd you get that? New York City's entire fleet, which has 30,000 vehicles, is on renewable diesel. Up until now, there hasn't really been an option for non-New York City folks to procure it, but now it's on New York State bid, which means that any municipality in New York State can bid on it. And there's a firm called Sprague that offers it. New York City bids, they're out of Louisiana. But basically, it's a plant product that gets refined in a diesel refinery so that it's chemically the same as diesel. And it's for us, it would be a sort of a gap fuel to get us till we can be fully electric.
so is it like bio, I mean, where do the plants come from? We don't know. I mean, like biofuel is controversial because of all the land it takes up and all the monoculture plants. I mean, everything,
This would have the same concerns.
right?
yeah.
But I assume doing plant-based doesn't,
Bringing it out of the center of the earth. That's, I mean, it's, any type of fuel is going to have an issue at this point. So the life cycle emissions from renewable diesel are substantially less than traditional conventional diesel.
fossil fuels. So there is emissions, but not like.
There are emissions.
It's the same emissions coming out of the vehicle,
Right,
but in terms of creation and extraction, it's different.
it's not a fossil fuel.
Right, which is super expensive to get out of the ground at this point.
Fossil fuels,
Yeah.
I know,
Right, so
I know.
that's
This-
where a lot of those.
But we do acknowledge that not every fleet can swift transition over to renewable diesel, or there won't be enough land to produce all the food.
Right.
So
But also, Julie, you were saying you can retro, you don't have to get new vehicles, right? You can just use, it's a fuel change.
it's a 1-for-1 replacement. I could buy renewable diesel tomorrow.
Right, and use it on your diesel fleet. So you don't have to get new trucks.
Yes, and
Well,
there are retail, there's 2 retail facilities that are run by Sprague down in New York City that offer renewable diesel. You can drive up right now with your diesel vehicle and fill up.
Is it the same cost as diesel?
It's right now between 40 and 60 cents more per gallon.
That's great. Well, thank you for that. And I think it's amazing that the New York State bid system has it so that anyone that, yeah, that's great. Okay, community preservation plan.
First I'll tell you about the Community Preservation Advisory Board. 14 applications were submitted for folks to serve on the advisory board. 2 were declined due to lack of residency, so there's residency requirements on that board. So 12 applications that were eligible were received in the period of time that we were seeking them. 7 will be appointed. 7 of those were sent as a recommendation to the Common Council by the mayor. All the applications were sent to the Common Council. They will be reviewing those applications on the Laws and Rules meeting, which is next Wednesday. Each person that is appointed will get either a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or 7-year term. And then I anticipate
There's 7-year terms, so.
It's right in the beginning, at the first initial, everyone gets either, one person will get a 1, one person will get a 2, so on. And after that term expires, your second term is for 7 years.
No.
Yes, it is. I hope anyone who's sitting here that applied to be on it knows that.
Well, I mean, it's not. It's throwing you in jail if you have to leave before 7 years, right?
Oh, my goodness.
So I anticipate hosting the first meeting in, well, they'll vote on it. It goes to the Laws and Rules now. They'll vote on it in March. I anticipate the first meeting being April. We also just received our first report from Ulster County. In December, we did not, the fund went into effect on December 15th. And so for the month of December, we did not receive any real estate transfer tax revenue, because anyone who had been in contract already, it wouldn't apply to them. And we got the January numbers today, and I, just looking at the amount of transactions that happened in this month of January, there were 54 transactions total in the city of Kingston, 54 conveyances of property. A number of those were over the threshold, but I'm presuming that a lot of them were already in contract before December 15th. But we have now received $4,056 into our real estate transfer tax fund. So we have $4,056 to put towards land preservation. And again, as I mentioned at the last meeting, if we would have done this in '24, we would have raised about $1.4 million.
Is one of the options potentially to use some of that money to like do improve, like create access at the new
So
rundown
maintenance and management can be used for 15%. The other 85% would be for like easements or land purchase or transfer development
I
rights.
see, okay.
15% can be used for maintenance. So that's that.
But, yeah, and if there's plans to pay back the purchase of the wilderness,
It can pay back the bond.
then we already know we need that money.
That's where the money will go.
If the Community Preservation Advisory Board
Decides,
Tuesday.
but that would be a logical place.
So are you aware of the preservation fund?
Yeah.
People voted it in November. And what it is it's a real estate transfer tax of 1.25.
Oh, yes, I do know.
Yeah, anything over 350,000, right?
Yeah.
Or what the
Over
median is.
Median is. So then that, every month when there's property transferred, some money will go into the fund. Wow, 7-year terms, wow.
And with the historic preservation part, that would be property acquisition, right?
It can be.
Yeah.
But it can also be
Acquisition of
easements.
historic property or,
Oh,
That's
For
kind of
his-
yeah, I
how-
remember
I'm
there was
sorry.
a historic
Right.
preservation component to it. It was an acquisition of property, right?
that's one option. And any conveyance of property, any kind of land preservation practice is eligible.
so, okay, great. Well, that's good. It's happening, it's amazing.
So then why have historic preservation, if anyone can be, I'm just getting confused here. I thought that it would have to be historic property or it would be land that would be preserved. I didn't realize any property could be purchased.
It's not historic preservation, it's.
I'm not saying any property. I'm saying the properties that were identified in the community preservation plan with having 1 point or more are eligible. If that is a historic property, which it may be, the action by the Community Preservation Advisory Board could be purchase. It could also be put an easement on it.
Got
It
it,
could also be transfer development rights. It could be.
got it.
Purchase
Things that
development
affect
rights.
historic property.
Yes, as well. Not all properties, just the properties that are eligible.
Mhm.
Has there been any action on the business park?
Yes, we had that meeting. We had essentially a wrap-up meeting with the firm, Borough Happold. They have a very close to complete conceptual plan for the development of the business park. I would surmise that they're going to take the comments that we had from our project advisory committee last week and refine their final presentation and plans and put that out publicly, I would guess within the next month.
And do they know where the RPO is now? Okay.
And when I went to the first meeting, there was a couple of proposals. Are they gonna have one plan, or are they gonna have a couple of options as they presented that first meeting? Remember, one was going along the roadway, one was fragmenting the property.
We have one plan. It is conceptual though, it is not pre-construction level. It's like 30% design, maybe less. It's conceptual, but it is only one plan.
Okay, so it'll be one or the other, or a
That
combination,
or not that.
right?
And nothing.
This is the Kingston
The
Business
Kingston-
Park, so
oh,
if
you
you
don't know
look at
that?
Delaware Avenue, and you know, if you know where
Yeah, there's this big one here, it'd be nice.
Murray Street is, and John F. Kennedy School, you get that on the left, there's a sign that says Kingston Business Park. Drives all up, and there are two businesses actively there, it was originally laid out and designed to be more than that. So there's quite a nice bit of unused space there.
But it's also all forest that goes along the ridge line along the Hudson. There's amazing natural resources there too,
And
bird life.
It does connect with the Sojourner to the State Park.
that would be up here.
And the idea is, since it would be to add housing there, not because we're seeking space for housing.
But I mean, not to belabor the point, but one of the big problems is accessibility. It's a very narrow road that goes up and it's very isolated.
And their design does include mixed use,
Does include,
does include mixed use.
but it's totally isolated from the rest of the city. And you can't widen that road, which goes through rock.
There's really only one way up. Is that,
Although one of the
Right.
plans talked about extending the road the other way, like
Oh,
down
off
to
the
the
other
forest. That, to me, that's the only thing that makes sense, would reconnect the city with like, the other side of it, right?
So
Janet?
like the
I mean, you
avenues,
remember the plan where they talked about the create a
some of the
road?
avenues are in the project.
Right, but it would connect, right, with
These two
Pankaki or whatever that area is, Little Poland.
The avenues, you mean, or you mean Pankaki?
All I remember is the first plan said there was a roadway that would go through the thing and connect on the other side with the city.
Not on copy.
To Third Avenue, I
To
think.
Third Avenue, that is, yeah, that's what I'm
First,
talking
second, and third.
about. That to me seemed like that would make sense, kind of, because it would reconnect.
So,
Well, we'll have to see the conceptual plan
Yeah.
before we can comment.
I haven't personally heard anything about Midtown thriving so I don't know where that is. That's a pattern for progress is following that, or is the consulting. Local waterfront revitalization program.
well, I talked
Oh,
with the
sorry.
Pattern for Progress people. I think that they're planning next to do a community walkthrough of the area, but I think it's kind of on hold for now. I don't know why.
Okay.
There's my little update.
Do you want me to remove it from the agenda?
No, because it's still hopefully gonna happen, right? Local waterfront revitalization program, we got funded to do that. And I don't think, anyway, is there any update on that? And planning's gonna be following that, right? So. The planning department, okay. Oh, thank you. All right, native plant and pollinator gardens. So a couple things were, that we haven't taken too much action on, but we want to make sure people know about the spotted lanternfly. And we just need to buckle down and get some material on our website. We're gonna be talking to Emily next week about her program. And then thirdly is we provided the planning department with a few resources, on native plants. But the urban forester has said that he would work with us to get a better list and better resources, not a list. And Julie's provided here the list of banned species. So there's actually, people will know that what the DEC has deemed as prohibited. You can't sell, prohibited, and you can't sell them.
Like what? Like you mean,
Like barberry.
but you can get that at nurseries.
Yeah, they're not supposed to sell it, but you can still plant
You're gonna
them really in
present next
gardens.
Oh, so
and,
there's
like,
a law that's selling them. Why do we see that in nurseries still?
Well, yeah, so they're prohibited, there's prohibited and regulated, I think are the two categories. It's been a minute since I've looked at these regulations, but one of them is like.
Prohibited and regulated.
Yeah, so like one of them is like totally banned, like you cannot sell them or plant them. And then one of them is a little bit less restrictive, where you can plant them in like landscaped areas, but not in places where they can like go wild. and stuff.
Right, huh.
And I think this
Because
is a good
birds just
start.
stay in that area?
Well, that's right, that's how that works.
Oh, okay.
No, I think this is a good start to
Yeah.
a list of invasives, but I think the regional prisms are actually a better resource for all of the invasives in an area, and I think we should recommend that.
The regional prisms being the Hudson, the
Lower Hudson, the
that-
Partnership for Regional Invasive Species
Right.
Management, yeah, they have a really comprehensive list. of
Right. I've seen it, I have it,
Species
yes, I
that's
know what
tiered,
you mean, it's amazing.
Yeah, it's great, it's a great resource.
Do they have them for both invasive and not invasive? Natural, native?
They don't native, they
They
just
don't-
have invasive.
No, they don't want to do invasive. It's all native.
No, I'm sorry, so the prisms, their name is
I'm sure
Partnership
it's-
for Regional Invasive Species
Oh,
Management. So all their literature is about
Invasive.
invasives,
Yes.
not the alternatives.
But people can take a look at the list.
Yeah, because it's still really good, especially like if we're looking at a landscaping plan or, to say, well, this is on the list of
Yeah.
invasives, so.
so I just want to make a comment because I had forwarded this to everybody, which is like my son and daughter-in-law live in Prince George County in Maryland outside DC, and I think they're getting money from the Chesapeake Foundation. So I just want to quickly go through this because I have on my computer all the incredible education they're doing, conservation landscaping fact sheet, why to do it, reducing chemicals, and they have this really detailed stuff you can get, and they're paying people $5 per foot. And my son and daughter-in-law got $2,000 during COVID to put in native plants in their yard. So there's money, but I mean, probably Trump is probably stopping that funding. But it just made me think about what you could do. If we had in our grant to start some kind of small plan to incentivize people. I mean, I sent this to everybody, but there's a conservation fact landscaping thing, and there's like all this information, really detailed, not just plants, but the whole, why do you do it, number one, what are the benefits, including reducing labor, control of and also they have an incentive program for edible gardens, either native or edible. And, just pages, and they have several tracks for different, native plant landscape, edible conservation landscape, and reforestation and meadow. So I was just really impressed with this. It's an incredible resource, and they're doing the plan again. I guess they're doing another cycle, and it was incredible how much native plants there are in this working class community of Mount Rainier in Maryland, thanks to this program. And of course, people are getting money for it, so that's an incentive. But it just made me think about there's so much more that could be done. And maybe we could even, use this as a template if we wanted to do some kind of education program. I mean, this is a lot. We don't have to do as much as this, but
Mhm.
I think laying out why do it? It's not always obvious to people. So I just want to mention that. If
Yeah,
we
no, I
wanted to
really
do a
appreciate
flyer,
that.
or I don't know how we would do it, maybe for Earth Day, we could have some kind of information. You know, like
Mhm.
just
Yeah, we need to
basic
start
things.
working on that now, so maybe
Maybe we could meet him, I'm happy to meet or talk about it the next
Okay.
month, and we could come up with like an
okay.
idea for a flyer, you know, resources, why do it? And I can use this partly as a template, or,
Okay. Do you, yeah, okay.
and then of course
yeah.
Emily will talk, so that will give us more ideas. After you guys talk to us.
Yeah,
Um,
would you send me that?
Sure.
my-
Absolutely, and just the Gmail address that I sent earlier, okay, I will definitely do
My
that.
sister lives in Montgomery County, Maryland. It is all about the watershed, and she's gotten very similar.
Yeah, well, because the stormwater is a huge problem, which has to be a
Yeah.
thing, even though the
Yeah.
Anacostia River goes to the Potomac,
Right.
it's huge. But we have a stormwater problem here in the
Yeah.
Hudson with our sewage plant, so, you know, stormwater is an issue. So that's a big reason of why they got this funding and why they're doing it.
That's great, Laura.
Thank you. Okay, now we have Brendan.
Did you
Do
want,
you
do
have-
you have, what
I'm
are
sorry.
we doing about this list, anything?
So we are, this list,
Yeah.
oh yes, we are going to start developing a resource list for, so I'm gonna work on it. I think Lynn's gonna work on it. Does anyone else want to work on it? And Brendan offered, not Brendan.
Brett.
forgive me, Brett,
Yes, not me, but the urban forester.
yes, yes.
Okay,
I can help.
but I,
Okay.
We developed a planting guide for the green line, maybe 5 years ago. That's native planting guide, it's visual.
Mhm. Oh,
Is that what you're looking for, or you're looking for an invasive?
no, we're looking for two things. One is very specific information so that when people that are applying for projects through the planning department and they have to provide a landscaping plan, that they can go somewhere to know, to have a way better idea than to what plants they can use instead of just coming up with kind of the main things, whether it's just one.
Well, we want pollinator gardens, we want to promote pollinator
So-
gardens.
Yeah, so that, and then, so that would be very specific, so the planning department can say, you know, when you submit your landscaping plan, here's a bunch of resources. Because their landscaping plans are still putting in, Japanese barberry. Okay, and then second, so we wanted to offer that to the planning department. And then second of all, and of course, the tree commission also has some information and they're working hopefully to update their list. And then secondly is just to at least start getting information out for the general public, but not necessarily a focus campaign right now, except for whatever we do at Earth Day.
And the other thing I think we had mentioned before that we might want to talk about more is something the city can do with its land. I mean, we have areas of Kingston Point Park. You know, we have a lot of land the city owns. And I know when I was in Central Park, they're putting meadows in. They're getting rid of the lawns a lot of Central Park. So, I mean, we had talked maybe before some kind of showcase project, you know, City Hall land or somewhere where the city itself is doing a meadow, you know, obviously it would be, we could start off small. But I just think it would be great if the city, you know, could do something that would be like a showcase garden or something. And there's certainly land that can
We
happen.
do have it at Forsyth.
Okay, Forsyth, I forgot about that, that's true.
I'm, one of my colleagues,
Oh, you're-
his partner is a conservationist for New Paltz, and she does a lot with pollinator gardens and developing meadows, so if that is something.
What's her
that
name?
you-
Because I might have been to a presentation with, I
I
remember.
can't remember her
Yeah,
name
I think I know
specifically,
that.
but, I speak with this colleague pretty regularly, so if that's something that the city is interested in pursuing, I could always reach out to them and get that contact information.
Do you know if New Paltz is doing anything? Is it?
They have some meadows, they have some pollinator gardens. I've gone on, I'm a teacher, so I've gone on continuing education courses there, and we've talked quite a bit about that.
Great.
So, yeah.
Yeah, so I teach at New Paltz and we have a Bee Campus USA initiative. We have meadows and green roofs and different pollinator infrastructure there. So
So that could be another resource. Other people have done this, other organizations have done this.
yeah,
It'd be nice to do it in a place where people are already, like, if you could somehow combine it with the green line, for example, and have like information along there or sample plantings with more information about.
so this is the bee line. This is our concept for the.
Oh, is that what we're gonna hear about next month?
Mhm.
Oh, great, okay.
Yeah.
Nice teaser.
So, but I just want to circle back to this planting guideline that I could share. It's like a PDF that has these native plants. Maybe it's what you're looking for, maybe it's not, but it's something we could.
Oh, definitely.
Mhm.
And
Oh,
then
yeah,
like the
no.
Xerxes Society, I think, has one for Central New York as well. I mean, there are a lot of
Yeah.
existing resources we could draw.
But
Yeah.
your document was developed for the green line, so it's for right here.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
That seems like
Yeah,
that's at least half of what we're looking for, right?
Yeah, I mean, we're not like starting from scratch here. There's already, you're already doing something and, I mean, there's a huge, Woodstock has a huge pollinator path. There are different ways to go. The pollinator pathway in Woodstock, but that's more people signing up for it. And that's like, we figured out someone has to kind of manage that. So anyway, there's a lot of
Yep.
ideas.
we're still, yeah, I think we need a subcommittee. So who wants to be on this subcommittee that we can meet offline?
Well, I'm happy to be on it and meet with you.
Experience with this.
Great.
What is that?
Eugene.
Do you guys do native plants in your community gardens?
Cindy promotes us to do native plantings, but she kind of is very libertarian with it, as long as you're taking care of things. She doesn't care what you do.
So it's pretty, whatever you want.
Yeah, but many of us plant, for the monarchs or making sure we're planting pollinator plants, so it's,
Above and beyond vegetables.
yeah.
That's so cool.
Do you want me to change the title of this agenda item to something different?
Sure.
To what?
Actually, no, I think it's fine.
Native planting / pollinator gardens?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, well, I think we still have a lot of information, we just gotta set it down and work on
I can
Figure
pull it
out
up,
what we're
but-
doing.
Okay, I
it. So are you,
emailed it to you.
okay,
It's the same
Um,
thing. And it's two PDFs and then.
so Brendan's gonna pull up, so Brendan's position is that he's a resident of Kingston, he's a member, or he's a student at Bard Center for Environmental Policy. But he's also, and through that, he's been interning with Julie. So he's gonna, and he knows GIS, so he's.
And I have access to the school's GIS license, which is really handy.
So,
Yeah. So we're pulling up some maps now, but I'll just give a general idea of what we're gonna be looking at here. As we all know, New York State's wetlands regulations have been updated. And I think this group was talking a couple months ago about possibly sending a letter to people who own property that may now encompass a regulated wetland to let them know, hey, your property might now be regulated when it wasn't before. And then there was also some talk about going through the, what is it called? The regulatory jurisdictional determination process with city properties. So I use this map that has the National Wetlands Inventory wetlands across New York State. And I have overlaid parcels in the city of Kingston, so we know what parcels are intersecting wetlands and then who owns them. This map I made a month ago before we went to this great webinar about the new law. So it's a
Which one do you want
little,
me to bring up?
you can bring out the one that says labels, probably. We can also point out where the new property is for people who don't know, just while we have a map up. Anywho, something that I learned in this webinar is that there's basically a 100-foot buffer zone around all these wetlands, and that buffer zone is also regulated. So this map doesn't reflect the buffer zone, it's just the wetlands themselves. I think we can see if we added a 100-foot buffer, a couple more properties would probably be regulated.
Oh, because the wetland might be on someone else's.
That's exactly right. Yeah, so it might, like some of them here at the border, stand in this corner. Yeah, so for example,
Sorry, it's.
no, that's all good.
So,
I could have made a PowerPoint. This is my fault for saying PDF. So here's Kingston. All of these little squares here with the red stripes, those represent the parcels that are intersecting wetlands. And then here are 4 different kinds of wetlands that the inventory had that are represented here. What we don't see is vernal pools. I at least have not come across any data for the location of vernal pools, although those are really important.
We do have some.
Oh,
They're in the natural resources inventory.
great. Okay.
You mean still either mapped? You mapped? They're mapped. Oh, wow.
Okay.
There's one
There's
that
like
isn't,
3.
I can show you where it is.
Yeah, that would be great. Yeah, if you could,
One secret chemical.
can you point it on the map? But seriously, that would be,
It's in Wilbur.
oh, yeah, okay.
It's behind below the Mount Zion African-American Cemetery.
Okay.
That's
If
on.
you go up to the
Fine.
cemetery and
South
look
wall.
down at Wilbur Avenue, you should see it in a few weeks after the snow melts.
Okay.
And there's vernal pools around Montrose Cemetery, right?
And
Around the golf course, I used to walk there, a lot of wetlands over
I
there.
haven't done that in a while. So
Well, maybe we can figure out a way to,
so what's your
do a-
data source on this though?
the data source is the National Wetlands Inventory, which
Okay.
US Fish and Wildlife
Mhm.
produces.
So have you been able to look at the new maps that DEC has the informational ones?
Yes, the information, they overlay pretty
do.
well. Yeah, I think this map, the wetlands inventory, has a few more than the informational one did.
Oh, wow, okay, because I thought they had kind of looked, that
Right.
they had used more data and maybe came up with newer map.
Well, we can definitely
Yeah,
keep adding more data.
One in Red Fox Ravine on Wilbur Avenue.
Yes.
That's dry, actually.
Oh, it's not, could it be a vernal pool? It's labeled as a freshwater
Well,
pond.
It would
So-
probably still have to get JD though, right?
It
Yeah,
probably
yeah,
is.
no, it's under, yeah, I know it's in the,
That's-
inventory, but, it's dry.
Well,
So
We'll
are,
check it out in a month, you know.
so are these protected or what's, I mean,
So
Well,
far.
Well, so the,
yeah, let me just say one thing. We've been thinking about how we can protect our wetlands. And conveniently, the DEC passed, we went through and came up with all these new regulations. And one of them is if they're unique, I always get this word wrong. They are unique, there's 13 or
there's 11,
there's 11,
because I was on this.
yes, thank you. And one of them is if you're in an urban area.
Wait, 11 protected wet,
There's
categories of
11
protected wetlands.
categories.
11 criteria, but if it has
Criteria.
one of those criteria, it is protected, well, it would be protected if you get the determination.
And because we're an urban area city, all the wetlands in Kingston are protected.
exactly.
Because
Everybody
we're,
was
yes,
census.
because of the census, yes, the specific census. So, but then it's not automatically protected. What you have to do is get a jurisdictional determination, and you can do that if you're the property owner, or when if there's going to be some kind of activity, like a development, then you would ask for a jurisdictional determination.
You're saying someone else other than the property owner could do
Yeah.
that. So we
Yeah,
could
the
be
planning department
watching
would
these,
say, yes.
right?
Yeah, so we would need to keep an eye on this. However, the city of Kingston as a property owner or the land trust as a property owner, for instance, they can ask for the jurisdictional determination right now. So, so that's what we're thinking of proposing.
So I mean, in other words, all these areas would have to have this step, jurisdictional, to actually
Yeah.
seal the protection?
Unless
No,
it's
well-
already partly protected, you know, unless the DEC had already protected it.
Okay,
So those ones are already protected.
which are a certain size, they have to be part of a water, a navigable waterway, right? Or
Yeah, I think there's a couple of them, like down here and over here, that were big enough previously that they would have been protected.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I think that few of them in Kingston were protected
Right.
before the urban criteria was added. But I guess my understanding actually was that it's not that they won't be protected until someone does a JD, but it's that no one can develop on them until a JD is done. Is that right or no?
My understanding is that there's no, well, I mean,
Or is it kind of both?
I think it's kind of both, like, you know, if it exists and you start building something and then they come in and find out it was a wetland that should have been protected, I think you'd be in big trouble.
Right.
So you should always submit the JD to make sure that it's not protected, but
Oh,
yeah,
so
I
they're
mean,
not
technically
all
it's
protected.
not.
But there are all protected here because we're in the city.
Well, we think
Yeah, well, so when you.
there has to go
That's
through a
what we
state
thought.
process to confirm that this is true.
Yeah.
So, yeah, the
Just
first
to
step
get
of what
all
they'll do
maps.
is basically what I did here. They'll just see, based on the map information, is it on a wetland? And then sometimes they send a person out to inspect it to make sure that there's actually a wetland there, like here at Red Fox Ravine where there might not be. And then there's a couple other steps, and then they sign off either this is a protected parcel or it's not. And that's good for 5 years, that determination.
Got it. So the area that's like on the upper left, kind of the top, is
Up
that,
here.
no, with the green
Oh.
area, where is that? Is that
This.
like Forsyth Park or?
No, this is Sopas.
That's.
Oh, that's where it's all like,
Yeah, I guess I could have had labels. This
That's
is the
where the
plaza, this is over here by the armory,
right.
or whatever it's called.
Dead Nuclear property.
Yeah.
By the armory.
Is that, yeah, because they kind of built the strip mall right in the middle of the wetland. When you stand on road front and look down, that was all wetland, right?
Are you talking about the plaza?
Yeah,
Well, it's definitely in a floodplain, but.
yeah, I think that's all
Yeah, I
wetlands
don't
back
know.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that.
The rail trail goes along wetlands.
Yeah. Some of those, I just want to say this, there are definitely wetlands. Sometimes rail causes there to be a wetland because they dam up
Right,
the drainage. Yeah.
so all of Kingston Point's a wetland, basically, on that whole area at that
Well,
point.
those are unique, freshwater tidal wetlands.
Yeah, like, I know
They're
this
very
is
unique. so.
a little irrelevant, I just want to quickly say, I know there's, the greatest thing for Kingston Point, if I were in charge of the city, I would revert it to a wildlife preserve.
We're doing it.
But you're building,
Cool.
you're gonna build a boardwalk. You're building parking,
I'm turning half of the parking lot into a wetland.
So,
that's great,
um,
but I'm talking about the.
so what do
boardwalk.
you, are there any questions about this then? So far?
I think it's great, though, to have this map, like, thank you.
Yeah, well, this is a
Yeah.
draft. Have to go through and be.
So,
add a
yeah,
couple more
because,
steps,
the
but-
maps already exist. He's put the parcels around
So
it.
where's that, where you're
Yeah.
pointing, that lower area?
So this is
Oh, that's the
Wilbur.
uplands,
These are the
and that's
rounded
my
uplands here.
Montrose, this area, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, we're right here at City Hall.
Is this like,
This
around
is
is this around Montrose, the
Roundup.
golf course? I think that's what I was
The
talking
golf
about.
course is like right here.
Yeah, that's the
Yeah.
area I was talking about.
Yeah, oh, sorry, yeah, we thought you were talking about that.
So anywho, if people have any
So they're
comments
pretty
about-
big parcels. I was imagining that they would be fairly, household sized.
Well, I think it's just
But-
the location of wetlands are in these
These
areas.
areas,
Like
Yeah,
all of the parcels through here are really tiny because those are where all the households are. But then it's at the edges of the city where you get more open space, and that's where the.
So I'm
wetlands-
wondering, like, the area that Garrigan Drive is, right below, on Lower Broadway? That, yeah, down there. So the mayor has proposed redeveloping that, which I completely support. It's where the city was, but I'm looking that there are wetlands. So would that be?
Right over
The wetlands
here.
are.
So
It's not.
I should
Oh,
put,
it's behind.
yeah.
Sorry.
I think you.
Yeah, it's, yeah.
Yeah, it's not actually there.
No, and, okay, thank you. What one is this? It has a name, oh, 42.
426 Wilbur Avenue.
Oh, so is that the top of Wilbur?
Yeah, I think
No,
so.
I think that's my friend's address.
Oh, well, you can let him know. Yeah, does he have a big pond in his
No,
backyard?
that's a city lot.
They have a lot of acres that they don't realize.
Okay, well
That's a
then,
city, that's a city lot. I don't, that's where the DPW garage is.
Oh,
There's a
they're
shed.
neighbors.
okay, good catch then. Yeah, there are, I think,
There's a
8
surface.
city properties on this list that are owned by Kingston. I think a couple of them might be parks.
Because what I'm wondering is, well, the city's obviously been developed centuries.
Right.
So this is mostly built up, a lot of it, right?
Well, I think the area the city's most built up is the area where you see,
And that's where there would be no wetlands
Nothing.
left, because we
Right,
built it up.
right, so this is where you, there's another image that, Julie, would you go to the imagery PDF? Because that has, you can see at least a little bit where the greenery is. Yeah, so it's the same map, but now there's a imagery.
Aerial photo behind
Right.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean, yeah, this is all the area that's much less developed, and then through here, like you're saying, it's been developed for a long time. There aren't wetlands. But
Wow,
anywho, so that's just,
Really interesting.
that information is there.
I think it's funny that you wrote City Hall, you are here.
Thanks, thank you for noticing, it's the little details, you know,
Yeah, but what if we weren't looking at it while we're sitting here?
I knew you would be,
Oh my God.
here we are, I'll give you a different version with your house whenever I send it to each of you.
But so a lot of that area, all that area along the river, oh, what is that? It's south of
So,
Soldier of Truth Park.
yeah, this is, well, this is the
That's just
Hudson, right?
all over
That's,
the Hudson River.
Yeah,
That's where the brickyard
the,
is.
the brickyards are there. Yeah, I don't know if this is also owned by
This is the
the
business park.
Park.
This
That's
is
it.
the business park that we were talking about before.
Hmm.
This is the beginning of Sojourner Truth. This is Kingston Point. This is Kingston Point. This is Hutton Brickyards.
Right.
This is Sojourner Truth. This is Sojourner Truth. This is not Sojourner Truth. This is just back in the avenues.
Right.
Yeah, there's definitely wetlands along that avenue.
And that whole area, like from here, so I have hiked there many times, like when you go here and you hike here, along there, I mean, they're just incredible. Turtles, bird life, like this is really, it would be great to have that protected somehow. That's Sojourner
Oh,
Truth.
that's a state park?
But in here, I'm saying by the business park,
In the,
Oh,
in here.
Sure,
it would be a shame if that were all developed. This,
yeah,
Going in
that's
there.
separate from the wetlands, but
is this Hasbrook? No.
no, Hasbrook is over. Where is Hasbrook?
Wait a minute, I thought,
Over here.
I thought this area means there's wetlands.
This is,
no, this is the property.
Oh, I'm sorry,
This is a property with wetlands on it.
sorry.
Yeah. Okay, so I know that the DEC is very busy right now because they just started this January 1st. But we're wondering if we could kind of, all you have to do is go online and you provide the information. So whether or not someone in the city could do that for a few parcels to ask for jurisdiction. And so we were just wondering how we could do that, I guess, is the question. Just to get that, preliminary jurisdictional determination. And,
Yeah, I guess it would have to be the owner of the property, so it would have to go through
someone.
official city channels.
Which property are you looking at?
Any of the ones that the city owns.
Yeah, I think we could,
If you want to look at the spreadsheet, you can see who owns the properties also.
It's a really easy form. It's like a Google form.
Yeah.
It's like
Nice.
5 questions, so.
So in the orange-brown section under owner 1, that's who owns those properties. I guess you can all look and see if you might own a house. It's on the list.
I mean, if I were gonna do it, I would look at a parcel that has a fairly small wetland, maybe, or even vernal pools. Like, you can't read age, so.
Oh, right.
Oh, is that what it is B wetland just is?
No, there's
Or is there some?
another word for it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, I thought we were looking at the people. I
Well,
was,
we can
I was
look
looking
at
at
all.
the people.
Yeah, the people are interesting.
Yeah, there's a cemetery.
Yeah, and so apparently, you know, individuals can do this, but we, unless there's a development going on, the city can't be involved in asking. Is that what you understood?
Yeah, I think it's
Yeah.
either like the landowner or like a contractor or
But
Yeah.
would it make sense for us to try to give notice to these people, just so they're aware of, I mean, because who's paying attention to New York State wetlands laws?
someone else.
Everyone at this table, and that's it. And maybe you guys too. But it might be good to let them know.
FYI letter.
Yeah, I think
Right.
that makes sense.
I just wouldn't want to frighten
No, it doesn't have to be aggressive,
them. Yeah.
just you may be.
So you may not be aware that this law was passed and it might affect your property because it has been identified as blah, 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 and here are
Yeah,
resources where you can learn more.
You're
Right,
so lucky you have a wetland.
yeah,
Yeah, I think
That's
that's
what I
a
would
great
say.
idea.
What do you think, Julie?
Just tell me what you need me to do.
I mean,
What
How many total properties are we talking?
there might have been 80 something, I think
And that
maybe after I
included the city of
update.
Kingston.
That includes the city of Kingston and Ulster County, so that might be a thing we should look at also. Presumably, one of the Ulster County groups is aware of this and following it as well, but we might connect with them and let them know you guys own some property in the city that's regulated.
Okay, your map is going to be incomplete because
Great,
some of these wetlands were delineated during a secret process. And they were never mapped at a jurisdictional level.
right,
For example, like you had Hutton, I was just looking at Hutton Brickyard. They have extensive wetlands in the back, which Chazen, the consultant, delineated for them. But it was sent to DEC, but DEC never put it into their wetlands inventory. It was more than the
okay,
12.7 acres
Right.
at the time, and it still is, this particular wetlands. So
is there a way to access
So-
that information?
I have a lot of the secret reviews, we could go through.
Well,
But
I
it's,
was- the way they came up with these maps
yeah,
is it was my understanding that they hired Cornell University to look at the entire
Yeah.
state and to look at the soils and the vegetation. It's all done remotely. But, so I think, first of all, those of us who can use GIS is to actually verify what you said. Because there's the information, they're called informational wetland maps, informational maps. Because there's two things. One, if they've missed something, maybe we can ask them for a jurisdictional determination. But first of all, we need to make sure that someone else didn't catch them in this study that the state spent all this time and resources on. So we don't know that, because what we're using is, he's using national wetland inventory maps.
But it might not be as locally specific as secret review. So maybe we could look through those.
Yeah.
And see, well, this is the other thing is, I mean, if they're gonna be wetlands that are in Sojourner Truth State Park,
They're
then
protected.
we don't need to
right.
reach out to them. That's, yeah, but,
And I think Hutton is well aware of the wetlands.
right. So that's,
And that actually came up, this particular issue, I think Ray Curran had once had part of the alternative plan for Sailor's Cove, the Hutton Brickyard site, was to put a boardwalk through the wetlands. And Chazen pointed out, that's a wetlands, you're gonna need, you know.
Well, plus
permit.
Davis Sedge was there,
Yeah,
right?
well, that's in a different area.
Taylor's Cove area.
Yeah, but the sedge is, Davis's sedge is a different part of the site from the wetlands. It's
So
close-
just
closer
for
to
your
the river.
information, before there was the Hutton Brickyards, there was a development proposed called Sailor Cove. Sailor's Cove, so that's why the work was done. So, and because it is privately owned, it could go unprotected. So I think looking at the secret and the informational maps, which I can't read because you have to, it's a GIS clearinghouse and they don't have a friendly version. But then the question is, so I think that's one step that sounds worthwhile doing. And then second of all is the idea of just kind of sending out, asking for a jurisdictional determination for something that the city owns, one or two that, you know, we just want to know because it's small enough or it's unique enough or something like that. And we don't have to decide tonight, but as long as we can do it. And have you used the form yet?
Yeah, I just did it for one of our properties that has like, it doesn't have previously regulated wetlands, but it came up on the informational mapper, so I just submitted to JD. It's really easy. It's like I said, it's a
And did they-
Google form.
Do you say who you are in doing that? Like, do they
I
ask you?
put my
what-
name down,
Yeah, as,
but you know, I'm the only person managing land at my organization.
Yeah.
so.
Right, well, I mean, would it be possible then for anyone just to submit one? Was there
No,
some
I was like
verification
the
that you,
contact for the property,
Okay.
in case the
Gotcha.
needs go out there, you know.
that's
Yeah.
good,
This informational wetlands database, this is at the state clearinghouse?
Or
it's
you
at the
can
GIS
figure out-
clearinghouse, yes.
I may have it, I just haven't accessed it, but I'll look for those, you know, a couple of ones we just discussed. and see.
thanks.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
then I guess I'm all for going through and doing this for the city, a couple city properties, but I am wondering what is the benefit of us doing that? Because,
Right, what's the value of them?
and nothing, what it would
Because they're-
do is it would
well,
stop more development.
Are there any parcels that are not already protected?
City parcels
Yeah, like
that aren't a park or something,
you own something that is, the city owns something that,
could be for sale.
I agree with you now. Yeah, that could, maybe I'm totally wrong. Maybe there isn't anything that's not protected.
What do you mean by protected? If it's
Well,
a
like if
park,
it's Sojourner Truth or Hazard Park, it's protected.
But also we need to understand, like, you can't build within these wetlands, so knowing where they are and where that buffer is, and some of the buffers are directional, they're not just like a uniform
Yeah.
buffer around the wetland.
Oh, that's a good
So
point.
understanding where that is will be key, I think.
So, but that's mostly for the vernal pools, right? The directional buffers?
Yeah, I'm sure they can do that for anything though. That's so like if you have a wetland that's right next to, say, a parking lot, they won't protect part of that parking lot. They'll give you a directional buffer that protects more of the land that's actually within the habitat for, say, salamanders.
Mhm.
So it makes a bit more sense than the previous regulations.
Okay, so then would it make sense, our next step should be, I should figure out where the vernal pools are, and anyone who has that information should share it with me. Then we'll see if the city has any properties that are near vernal pools. Then we'll send that information to the DEC. They'll tell us exactly what space is protected.
I think beyond vernal pools,
Right.
all
All of
wetlands,
you-
because all wetlands will be protected in the city, and
Right,
we
but-
should know where we can't build or do things.
Okay, I guess I was just thinking, it seemed to me like all of the wetlands, with the exception of vernal pools, had a 100-foot buffer, and that's something that's really easy to figure out on our end. But
Sure.
the directional thing, we can't do that, only DEC can do that. So that seems like maybe number one priority, but I also agree we can
Yeah, I think
Just
it's
do
really
everything.
easy to do all at once, you know?
And we're not gonna overload them, are we?
Yes.
They're gonna be fully overloaded.
Well,
Yeah,
that's my, okay,
yeah.
then this is my other worry, because they said in this webinar that if they don't get back to you within a certain period of time, they void the protections on that space. So I'm a little,
3 years, yeah.
no, it was like 90 days.
It was,
No,
yes.
for the amount of time that they're
Oh,
waiting.
yes, right,
Right,
but then,
that's why-
you know,
that's why I was trying to do a tiny thing that maybe they would get back to us
I
with.
see,
Right.
yeah, so maybe we
As
do
opposed
start
to-
with burn.
Yeah.
just,
or
yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I would hate for us to say like, check out all of this, and then they're like, yeah, it's all unregulated.
It was really,
I'm still not following, why would we focus on city properties, which are already within our control?
because we only have control to do that because we're not the property owner.
Right, but we are the city, so what are we going to do to our own properties that we're worried about?
Well, I mean, are you aware of where all the wetlands are and those, is it just understood that there's a wetland, it's protected automatically and we know where that is?
I mean, the city properties that we're, I guess I'm not sure what folks think we're going to start doing on city properties that we're not currently already doing in these locations.
Nothing, I just felt like it was the easiest way to do it, because otherwise we need to call up the Newcombs and ask them if they could do a JD or the Kingston Land Trust. 'cause
I do, since we don't have the full list of, or maybe we can, once you get all the information you need, we can talk a little bit more about what needs or doesn't need to happen.
That
Because
makes
without the full information, we don't actually know which properties we're
Right, I mean,
talking
like,
about.
these city properties are parks. They're going to be parks in perpetuity.
Yeah, so we do.
I know, you might be
So
right.
we have parks in perpetuity too, but we do it just in case anything comes up down the line, and then we don't have to wait like however many months for all of this to come through to get approval. Sometimes to do projects, you need like a negative jurisdictional determination from the state before you can like move forward with certain projects. So it's good to have on hand, like if you ever want to do something.
And it would also be cool to know more information about the
And
vernal
maybe
pools.
it's a good example too, like we're like, oh, the city did it, so this is how you can do it.
Yeah, like, I guess when I finally understood this from this webinar last week, I just thought we already had blanket protection, but we don't. We need those jurisdictionals. And of course, for the city properties, maybe we don't, but I think it wouldn't be a nice test case. Now, now that we're discussing it could be a test case. And especially if there was some, as I said, like, I'm assuming that there's no like just parcels that the city owns that you're just holding because you're trying to sell them. You've taken them in
But yeah, I mean, that
big-
does happen.
yeah.
So that could be
So that might be
somebody's
But there
property.
may not be any property that has a wetland, but that would be one of the reasons. Yeah, and then at least we can be ready, like what Jen's saying, or yeah, or we could point it out more visibly, or, something like that.
Or even if there's a
Um,
wetland that, is half on city property and half on someone else's property, you'd be like, hey, look, do you see that, so this is a protected wetland on our half,
Oh,
and maybe
yeah.
we need to look into yours too.
that's pretty smart.
Yeah. So there's lots of options.
Well, maybe
So that's
we
right.
can bring this up again next month
Yeah.
after we have more information. And maybe we can also talk about how we would go about mailing these parcel owners to let them
Yeah.
know. We have their addresses, we have their home addresses if they own these parcels, but they live in Brooklyn.
Yes,
We don't have their emails, so we have
It's
to
paper.
send them a paper
Yeah.
letter, and I don't know how.
yeah, that's one. So,
I'm Gen Z, I don't know how that works.
oh, yes, well, you have to buy a stamp. Yeah, I think it's really exciting, but the one thing I did feel I was disappointed in was that the DEC kind of gave themselves well, if we're overwhelmed, we can just say we didn't respond. And then it's not positive, it's kind of a negative thing that, right?
It's
So-
negative for so many years, after
Yeah.
5 years.
5 years, and so I just
It's a long
thought,
time.
God, they're really giving them a, because, anyway, they have new staff, but that, I thought, I was disappointed. So we need to move ahead, because it's 8:45. So I think we have some action steps there that have been well outlined. The Lower Silver Stream Management Plan, the resolution was passed by the Common Council and was forwarded to the Planning Department. We asked the Common Council to pass a resolution in support of the implementation plan that we had commented on. So that's kind of done, and there is going to be some money coming out through the DEP, I believe, for towns for people to ask for projects. So it's not like an overarching group is gonna do that. It would be like a town, like say, the town of Marbletown wants to work on getting their beach fixed up. So that's all I have on that.
County planning department or city?
What?
County.
County, that's what I thought, just
Yeah.
to make sure.
Oh, yeah, I went to county planning because they're,
Well, no, the county council could have referred it to
No.
Sue Gale's office or who knows, but all right,
no, it said right on the
got it,
resolution.
we're good.
Okay, is there anything in the PCBs or either in the Hudson or in the Upper Hudson?
Do you want
Okay,
me to be removing this from the agenda?
no, they're still kind of working on that. I'm still hearing comments about it. CAC, do we have to do anything with the report? Is that done?
That's done.
Okay, we're gonna table the retreat, flushable wipes. Okay. So Lynn, do you want to talk about our visit or?
Yeah, so Emily and Brendan and I met with Alan Winchell, who manages the plant. Didn't really have much information. What we were looking for is there a way that you can quantify the damage that comes from flushable wipes getting stuck in the pumping system, which he said is a huge problem, and it's not just flushable wipes. He said people flush everything down the toilet, not just feminine hygiene problem, but like, clothing, like everything. And he said that, I can't remember how many, some of the pumping stations, they have to manually take the stuff out when they get gunked up, but he couldn't really quantify, what it
The value
costs, and
of
extra
the cost,
maintenance,
yeah.
or damaged equipment. He just said it's really impossible to put a number on, which is what we were hoping for. So that whenever we decide to do, write a letter either in support of legislation or to educate people in the city not to do this. But it seems like it definitely makes sense to have some kind of educational outreach to people, which he said they would greatly appreciate, just telling them like, you should not flush you shouldn't flush this stuff down the toilet, because people are apparently, and he said it got really bad during COVID with the flushable wipes, and it hasn't gone down.
Yeah, and in other words, people started using wipes, period.
More wipes for everything and flushing them down, and so, and is there anything else that I left out that he said? They're also, just a side note, they're starting to test for PFAS, forever chemicals in the Hudson River. It was really interesting, actually, yeah.
Yeah,
They're testing for that in the water. I mean, I thought it'd be great to do like a book project about a portrait of the city from the waste. You would learn more about the city, but anyway, that's an aside.
yeah, on the wipes front, though, one of the guys did say the things that are being flushed down the toilet that shouldn't be they're definitely causing damage to the city and causing extra wear
And
and wear and tear, causing the city to replace parts more frequently, which is definitely costing something. But then the overall message that we got from them was that they can't really quantify what
We
we're
can
talking
still
about.
say it's
We
true.
can still say
we
it's true.
can still do,
It's just
it would
difficult.
help to say, don't do this, it's creating a problem, we just can't give a number.
But
Yeah.
couldn't you just give you the volume of the grease, grit, and rags? Which is what they pull off and.
Well, we didn't ask for that, but maybe that's an idea.
My
The
understanding
volume
is that
of the
the
grease.
first step in the tertiary process is like removing grease, grit, and rags, which is like grease and grit and rags, and wedding rings and goldfish and whatever.
Yeah.
But you're not just gonna get
Because,
towels and clothes and flushable wipes, you're going to get
yeah,
grease,
everything.
grit, and rags.
Right, everything.
But then people should not be pouring their grease down the drain either.
And a lot of people do.
Yeah, that's a big problem.
So that was
Yeah,
the
you
other
didn't even
thing.
bring up grease.
Yeah, but I mean, I had it,
Yeah.
yeah, so, do they, I can't remember
They
what you
should
said,
have,
so when they remove that,
did you go to the plant?
yeah, we met him at the
No,
time,
we didn't,
tour
we
it.
didn't get a tour.
Okay.
But he said that he would be happy to give us pictures or,
I would be happy to be all tour too. It's like the coolest place in this whole city.
Yeah,
But like the first building, there's just a truck there and it just gets all the grease, grit, and rags from there, but I don't know.
So wait a
That
minute.
would be the only place that I think you could quantify it.
but Julie, what do they do with that again? They take it
It's a
to
landfill.
the landfill, right, so they're paying. Does the city pay then by weight?
Yeah, he did say that he had the tonnages for that, but
Yeah.
So that
I
might be
missed
interesting,
that.
you know, maybe I should send him an email and
Yeah, but that's
ask.
going to be inaccurately representing flushable wipes.
no,
Well,
that's
but that's
okay.
the thing
Maybe
is,
unflushable
we
wipes.
kind of, yeah, one of the other big takeaways was that the flushable wipes are bad, but they're far from the only problem. And that maybe they prefer a comprehensive,
That's what I'm thinking.
Like,
If
don't
we did-
pour your
campaign.
grease down the drain.
Yeah, if
Yeah.
we did like a flyer or something, I think it would be a bigger issue, not
Yeah.
just the flushable wipes.
So
and that's-
what's your agenda?
So so first of all, we made it very clear that we were not asking him to have anything to do with legislation and that we would tell the mayor anything that we decided, and we basically volunteered to help with education. And so some of the things we specifically brought up was something at the Earth Fair, and something on the website, maybe writing something for the mayor
Right.
to put it.
What's the agenda?
The-
Well, to do this, why?
Well, because of
Because-
legislation, that's how it came up.
No. What's the point?
Because it's causing issues with the sewage treatment.
The point was originally to get rid of them, have people stop flushing flushable wipes that are not flushable.
Because of what? Why?
Damage to the
Because
sewage
it's damaging the
treatment
plant, it's bad for the environment, and it came up because the county, people at the county level, I think Gardner has a problem, I talked to a couple of people at the county who were looking at
Yeah.
local laws, and then there are state laws and federal laws that have just been languishing. There's two bills at the state
plant.
level
Yeah, but,
that would
yeah,
require flushable wipe
I
producers.
get all that.
Right,
If
that's how this came
damage
up.
to the plant, that's not the scope of the CAC.
okay,
There's damage to the plant, there's damage to our infrastructure happening left and right all over the city. If you're coming at this from an environmental perspective, what is that?
Well, less landfill, less stuff that goes to landfill.
Then it's big, then,
there's also, the wipes are made of plastic. They're being shredded up as they go through the sewage treatment system, and that's being dumped out into the Hudson. So that's,
Plastic disposal.
right.
But I mean, originally this all came up because.
you
of
have,
this
you have a
legislation
really
we were
good
going
point.
through.
I think we can table this till next
so
time.
I'm just,
Yeah.
I'm not poo-pooing, intended, like, this is a big deal.
But
like,
stay
if-
within our silo.
If you've come to the realization that people put massive amounts of, like, a fried food place in Midtown putting massive amounts of grease into the system, what does that have to do with the CAC? It's the same, if that is causing more of a clogging issue at the plant than flushable wipes, then you've just gotten out of your lane.
I see.
Yeah, okay, I mean, I guess
So like, if it's because flushable wipes introduce microplastics, and microplastics get into the environment and people are drinking it, that's in our lane. But like, impacts on the plant,
yeah,
there's a lot more we can be doing. Like, there's a million things that impact the plant,
Yeah,
including all the salt that we're putting on the land, and from now I need to use sand because we're running out of salt, and all these other things, like,
so.
I see it. So, and
Yeah, I get
yeah,
it.
your point, and I mean, the thing is classically these kind of, departments, they don't have any communication and outreach.
and absolutely,
Yeah.
I'm not
Yeah,
discounting
I get
at all that there needs to be
Okay.
education about people not flushing stuff.
But it's not.
But what
we-
does that have to do with this, how is that in your lane?
Yeah, well, I mean, we kind of got out of the lane because it had to do with legislation, that's how this whole thing came up. Would we write letters?
But
Yeah.
what are the other
Legislation.
CACs saying is that, why are flushable wipes in other CACs lane?
No, what I'm
I
saying.
don't know, but they decided to take it up, and you're right, because other CACs are not interested. in
Yeah, I thought the
taking it up.
county, this came.
It's
from the
not
county.
the county. it was Gardner.
Oh.
And Gardner asked the other Environmental Management Council members to, take this up at their own membership, and that's what I'm doing. And if we can back away, we can.
I'm not saying back away,
Yeah.
I'm just saying might need to go into it deeper, because if it's like, okay, flushable wipes are causing clogs, and the clogs are making then our stormwater have to bypass the system, which then gets directly discharged into the creek, that's an issue.
Well, I mean, that
If it's
is like, that
It's
is,
all bypassing the system because we can't handle it, and the whole kind of shebang is going into the creek.
Yeah,
That's an issue. If
okay,
it's microplastics or something being leached out of it, that's an issue.
All right.
Clogging.
so we'll go back to the drawing board.
yeah, I think we need to like,
Sewer what?
Pharmaceuticals, people just take.
no, that's a huge thing you talked about.
And
Yeah, but
then-
those are just,
No,
those are
there's so many
dissolvable.
The
But
plastics,
yeah,
micro-
anyway, all right, we're gonna go back to, because we gotta get through this agenda.
Yes.
Okay, sorry about that. Okay, so, Agriculture and Farmland Protection Plan on January 31st. Kevin McAvoy did a great job and submitted a letter on comments to that county plan.
Most of that was stuff that was not included, so we're just picking
Yeah.
up stuff that they didn't include. They kept, Kingston was a small thing to them, so we made it a bigger thing.
Is this gonna be on their website or something, if somebody wants to look at the plan?
Well,
Done?
they'll respond to the comments, so, yeah.
Yeah, it's not done yet. I mean, the deadline for comments was January 31st, we did.
Bert responded already and said, well noted, and we'll
Yeah.
follow it up.
So outreach distribution list, so anyway, just remember that we do have a distribution list. You can go on the website and sign up if you want to let other people know that we have that distribution list. Scenic Hudson River Cities, we just got a, request, and I'm not sure, this is kind of a longer discussion. So basically, they want to, have suggestions about what parcels they could put, do studies on to see the wildlife, including like putting in, trail cameras. And I'm not really sure why they asked, well, they asked me and Julie, the letter was sent to Julie and I, right? And, I think they want our help in suggesting and maybe also contacting landowners. So I'm not sure if we could just say no. But they came up with some ideas, but we don't have time to talk about it tonight, and, so,
I mean, frankly, I feel like doesn't need to be a CAC thing unless you want to provide input. I mean, they suggested all these locations that they want to put it on city
Yeah.
property, and that's just a matter of me saying yes or no.
right,
I mean, I don't know what input the CAC would have into that, besides like, here's a couple other invasive places you can look into.
exactly. I mean, I don't want to back away from it, except for, I just didn't feel like they were necessarily picking things like, why would they include,
81 Cedar Street.
no, why would they actually include really, really almost non-urban environments like the round out uplands? That's not telling us anything about urban wildlife.
Oh.
You know what I mean? Like try, the railway right of ways, or,
Yeah, they did say they meant Linear Park.
but the actual railroad. And,
So what, they
And
would put
those things.
webcams up? I'm confused, what would they do?
well, they
Look
gave a
around.
report last week. They talked about it at their last meeting. They want to do research
No, I remember
on the
that.
wildlife. And so they're looking for parcels that they can do like 3 to 5 year studies. So I agree, we don't have to have I just think it should be we don't have to have any input in it, except for I feel like they need to have a good plan, scientifically based, so, so that they can actually say something about our urban wildlife.
Put them in
That's
beautiful locations.
Hmm?
Isn't that on them to figure out the design? If they flaw their research method, that's not on us.
No, but it wouldn't be very useful.
Yeah, see, the
Yeah.
information will be
Yeah.
interesting
Yeah.
to us.
Yeah.
The
useful.
data.
Oh, we're looking at this for
Yeah.
the utility to us.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
yeah, because then we can say whatever, I don't know, protect that because of, you
But
know,
it'd be interesting to
I
find
mean,
out
it'd be
what
more
kind of wildlife is
interesting.
in the city, I mean, that's valuable.
and, but anyway, like if you're, do we,
Like
I'd rather know how they're moving through the system or something as opposed to how they're hanging out at Sojourner Tree Park.
But I'm wondering, like bats, are there bats in the city, you know, like
Yeah, there are
bats have been
bats.
decimated.
They're
I haven't
definitely
seen them
bats.
lately, but I would like to know,
I don't know.
Bat
if they're doing
population.
that.
See, it's not really clear to me, so they suggested like 78 Franklin, 81 Cedar, 348 Long Court, 43 Teller. Yes, these happen to be non-building parcels that are owned by the city. But let's just say that they put cameras for 5 years on all these places, and they say, okay, well, you know, 43 Teller had 17 skunks and 4 foxes and 749,000 squirrels. What is that? What are we going to do with that information? Say, okay,
I would only find it interesting if there were like endangered species or threatened species like bats, which aren't in the city. You know, if that included.
But they didn't say they're
Is there a
doing that.
timeline or a deadline for providing input?
Yeah, he said 2 weeks, and I just think we can't do it in 2 weeks, so.
I mean, my default was just going to be, go ahead, please understand your risks. We always have things stolen and vandalized in our parks. But like, I wasn't gonna get into their methodology or
Maybe we
like, what
can
am I gonna
invite
get out of
Because
this?
that's their
Come to a future one of our meetings to just give a presentation on what this is gonna, what kind of information is gonna come out, and then we can have a
Yeah.
discussion.
I also, they didn't indicate like, we have 13 that we wanna put out. I mean, I don't know.
All right, so do you want to,
But I mean, I don't want to dismiss folks on the CAC's opinions, but I just don't know enough about like, what value is this going to provide? Maybe they.
yeah, and we
hopefully
don't
they have
want
a
to do
bigger-
work for them if it's not, you know, if we're putting our effort into something that's not going to be helpful, we can just say that. You know, they've decided that this is how they want to spend the River City's
Yeah,
time
it's
and
their
money.
projects, you're just like, let them do their project.
So let them do the project.
And then
Yeah, but
there's
we'd
value.
rather have them
Value.
help us do pollinator gardens, you know.
I guess the only advantageous thing for the CAC would be like, is there a specific parcel that we're looking at or that the Community Preservation Advisory Board is looking at that would be like, this would be better for us to justify if we knew there were
Right.
houses, lot apart,
Right.
but we know.
We know they're out
Yeah,
there, we don't
I
know they're.
agree. So what's the conclusion so we can move on?
It's,
Let them go ahead with it, right?
We don't have any
We have
say,
nothing to
so
say.
they go ahead and.
Yeah.
Well, they were asking for help with, say, contacting landowners that are not the city. And they can do that.
That's not.
Yeah,
Was this list sent out? Or-
no,
it came out at 4:00.
328, Kayla sent it to me, Emily and I,
Today.
today.
I could look at it and see, you know, and talk to Greg and Shaniqua and the other people at the land trust.
Well, like,
Well, they should be contacting the land trust anyway.
I
Yeah,
don't know
well,
what
like-
that happened, because I would have been contacted. too.
Well, they only sent it out at 3:30.
there's like, I mean, they should put stuff in the business park, that's an obvious place. Where there might be interesting findings.
All right, so either we're gonna take action or not. So right now,
I can follow up on it if I get the list.
if you want to do it,
You're gonna follow up with them or with
Yeah,
me?
follow up with Dwayne and Kayla, and see what they're, see where they're going with this. Because again, it could be the pollinators are a better project.
yeah, I mean, yeah, exactly. I think they're working with Care Institute, who has decided they're gonna look at urban.
Well, I can speak to Josh too, if that's.
So anyway, I'll send you the letter.
I just sent it to them.
Pardon?
I
You
sent
did.
it again.
Okay,
Oh,
thank
okay,
you.
thank you.
All right. Thank you. Does anyone else want to see the letter? It literally just came in at 4:00, so, okay. Landfill leachate report. So there's two things here. We can send a letter to, the mayor already sent a letter. The CAC can send a letter. When I was at Public Safety, I told them about the issue and I said that their constituents might be talking to them. They only knew a teeny bit about it, so they had not heard. And they didn't really have anything to say about this issue. And so do you think that we should just write our own letter and not worry about the common council and suggesting the common council should send a resolution or not? So it's like the CAC, the common council, one or both.
And this letter would be going to New York State, right?
DEC.
To- okay.
It's saying what?
It's basically saying that they should change the regulations so that landfill leachate, it shouldn't be so easy to dispose of at a water treatment plant,
It shouldn't go to
especially with
people getting drinking water.
drinking water nearby.
Isn't there already a movement of some sort,
Yeah,
right? I mean, people
there's a-
have a plan for what they want to do.
There's
to
an
address this.
organization, Rebecca
specific-
Martin, a nonprofit, I think, they're nonprofit, they have all the tools, they have a
Yeah,
letter
There's
that's.
leachateloophole.com.
Yeah, exactly,
Right.
and the letter is like perfect.
Yeah, they're just asking
Yeah.
for our help. We
Right.
can say, we're not gonna help,
Or we could just send a copy of the letter that they have and just sign our name to it.
or we could individually do it.
But-
They did come to us and ask us by email or phone, can the CAC do this?
Gotcha.
But
Yeah.
anyway,
They came to you?
By phone, by email, and like at Christmas when I was not thinking about it. And yeah, and I didn't ask them to come and talk here because I felt like it was pretty obvious what the issues were. We didn't need anyone to explain it to us. And Julie, you were the one that told me the mayor already sent a letter. So
So if the mayor's already sent a letter, why would we send an additional letter?
we don't need to.
Hmm.
All right, that sounds easy. Okay. All right, so, anything else that anyone wants to announce, talk about, since we're trying to get out of here? Any announcements, communications or announcements?
Not necessarily an announcement, but I will just say that I'm gonna put Earth Fair on the next meeting agenda,
Okay,
but the vendor forms are out if CAC would like to table at the Earth Fair.
okay. Oh, and Brianna filled that out the last time. Okay,
oh, I have a quick thing I just wanted to mention. So I get communications from Pat Ryan, you probably do too. And in his letter, he talked about this $15 million state grant for reforestation. So I don't know if there will be any interest of anything here in Kingston.
Which one is it?
I just noticed his letter, it's a $15 million state grant, a reforestation grant. So I assume there are areas in the county, Kingston's not an obvious
Yeah,
candidate, but I thought maybe there's a piece of, maybe we could use some of this money for something.
it's,
Do
I
you know
don't know
what-
which one it is specifically, but I know that Brent is seeking funding.
Oh, okay.
So
yeah, good.
likely that it's already on its radar.
Yeah, because Pat Ryan already got the money,
Okay.
I think.
Great.
But you would know about it, you're following it.
Always let us know if there's some interesting webinar talk or something going on, because we're all interested in that. And make sure you write it down if it's like substantial, so we can put it in the annual report. So, okay, so complete streets, we don't have anything going on with that. The public safety liaison, I already pretty much talked about that. They didn't ask me about anything, but pretty much I informed them about the annual report, the landfill leachate, and the air quality presentation results. Kevin, anything from Plymouth Park?
Yeah, there was actually some movement on refrigerants at the last meeting. Julie gave a report, meeting she was on January 14th. NASCA, North American Sustainable Refrigeration Council, trainings were reviewed, and the goal of the meeting is to build a sustainable technician workforce.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah, so that's in the works. The repair cafe was discussed as it usually is, and Julie just forwarded some information out to this. I don't know if it came to this board. I think I got it through the Climate Smart, the upcoming repair cafes. What else do we have? The TENS is continuing, and that stands for Thermal Energy Networks.
Thank you.
And, yeah, those meetings get quite technical. Yeah. Municipal solar installations were discussed, and along with the never-ending Central Hudson paperwork. Let's see, this could go on for quite a while. It's a pretty long meeting. Much of the discussion on sustainability that Julie presents over there also gets presented here. Although there are some, some of the grants get discussed in greater detail, like this one is grant out at the point. The demos on North Street were updated, but I don't think there's a current update on that unless you have one. And I think that could cover it. Betta was going up for a lobby day last week up to Albany on pre-electrification issues that homeowners face before they can electrify their homes.
Oh, cool.
So, and the budget is also, I think, in that mix.
I'm wondering, sorry,
Yeah, go ahead.
has anyone seen a halt to any of the grants? Due to the Trump, like, shutting down the government? Like, Julie, are you seeing any?
It's
Like
a little bit
problem?
unclear, but I wouldn't hold your breath on the $27 million raise grant
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what I was wondering.
that was supposed to solve all of our problems on the waterfront.
What's raise?
Raise is like resiliency.
Oh, for the
Blah, blah,
resilience.
blah. That was like literally raise the strand, raise the walkway out to the point, raise Delaware Avenue, raise North Street.
That's a big
money?
federal one. Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
But
Who knows?
When are you supposed to get the grant? Like, when is the money supposed to come in?
unfortunately, we did not have an executed contract by January 20th.
Oh, no, you never got a contract?
I'm not saying it's gone. I'm not on the record for saying it's gone. I'm not on the record for saying we have it.
That's too bad. Yeah. Oh, no.
Luckily, most of the work the lion's share of the work that I manage is not federal. It's state.
Yeah.
However, a lot of my colleagues have federal ties.
Wow.
In the city or elsewhere?
Colleagues that have federal funding
Yeah.
or CDBG funding,
Okay.
lots of different things.
You're
It's
excused.
just
Thank you
not-
so much. We're not gonna vote on anything. Okay. Yeah, thank you for that segue. I think we've all been wondering about the federal funding.
Unfortunately, we don't.
Okay, and then, NICEAG, Julie can double on that.
Conference on the environment planning is in full force. We are narrowing down venue choices with site visits. We recently visited the Zivka property in Kingston, which is a Ukrainian resort. We're looking at that and then versus places like the Best Western and Ross Valley and the Shopping Center. And those, because we don't know the location yet, the date has been not confirmed yet either. So it's either September, October, or November. So I really have no information to provide, except there's a lot of planning going on.
Thank you, Julie. Ulster County Environmental Management Council, Kristen Chiara from Hurley was elected the chair. And Victoria, I'm sorry, I won't get Lupiano, I know that's wrong, but Lucarino from the town of Ulster is going to be the vice chair.
Who's the chair now?
I can send you the
Her name is
name.
Shara, SCHARA.
And I'll send you Victoria's. And then Hurley had a contractor with Community Compost, Shabazz Jackson and et al. And they did a presentation and I had to attend remotely, so I really couldn't hear, but they're looking into, they got a bunch of households to kind of weigh their garbage and figure out what kind of source, how much compost could be a food waste and stuff. And so they're moving ahead with that. So that was the main presentation. And that's all I have to report on that. Tree Commission, by the way, the Tree Commission meets right before our meeting. If anyone wants to start going to it, to be the liaison, it's at 4, so you just get to stay. It's at 5, so you get to stay here longer. You miss your dinner.
Yeah, I was
So-
gonna go, but I had a project at 4 to 8, that's 4 hours, it's like,
I know, and I had, no, it's 5,
I would-
it's 5.
oh, they're at 5?
Yeah.
I thought they were at 4.
They changed.
Oh, that's good to know, well, maybe next time I
Yeah, so
can,
they're,
that's a little more
sometimes it's
reasonable.
just, we have to wait till they finish, but they have a 1 hour slot because
Yeah,
we're
okay.
coming in after.
That's
them.
good to know.
And anything, Kevin, from the Alliance?
Yeah, I think we're in the midst of making comments on our municipal planning. Some of this would include the policy. Well, I'm on the policy group, and there's 2 groups, subcommittees, the policy and the municipal planning. I'm on the overall state planning, but that would involve expanding the community preservation funds and the community housing funds. And we're still looking into all the political ins and outs and determining where the political minefields are in that particular discussion.
Oh, are you talking about expanding it statewide?
There's talk, it might be easier just to expand it in Hudson Valley. But, not with heavy a lift. You might get somebody out in Jamestown who just says, no way, and the whole process. So, or Buffalo, or Montauk. I mean, Montauk's already in the mix, so they're good. But it could be somebody else in Suffolk County. Throws a wrench into the work. So, that's what they're trying to do, is the Community Preservation Fund, basic housing funds. And then we're also looking at finding ways for housing and open space planners and advocates to collaborate. Yeah, we may have an opportunity with them at the business park. We'll see how that plays itself out. Some of this we already do. That's why I didn't volunteer to serve on that particular subcommittee and review planning and zoning regulations. Well, I think we've done that to death over here already. Work collaboratively with surrounding municipalities and relative organizations. And sometimes that works over in Ulster, and sometimes, there's home rule issues that happen in Ulster. Our situation may be a little different than some of the other municipalities. So then that gives you a sense of what they're doing. And, there's a whole lot more of a list of resources involved with that.
All right, thank you. Is there anything else?
Do we have quorum for the 3/11 meeting?
Raise your hand if you can attend on 3/11.
That looks like quorum.
Right.
Do you have any questions? Public comment?
I still don't exactly know how I can contribute to the, overall agenda and goal here, but, just let me know what the next steps are,
Okay.
how that goes.
All right.
Typically, the next step would be either continue to attend more meetings and then be like, I don't really know. Or write back to me or Emily right after this and say, I loved it, consider me. And then we would say, great, come to the next meeting, tell us about yourself more. And then we would go into executive session, we would leave the room, we would chat about you, talk about your hair, we close.
Or like,
And then.
You don't care about that?
Make a recommendation.
oh, you don't know how many comments I get over here.
Yes, so, yeah, and you can always call me, we can have a And we can talk, right, yeah, specific question.
I would, before committing, if you were interested in committing, look seriously into also the Climate Smart Kingston Commission. It covers different things and it's got a different feel. That's in the environmental board that we have as well.
Okay, so, motion to adjourn?
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
8:21.
Thank you for having me today.
Thanks for coming.
Yes, you know,